Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody is doing wonderful. Well, in the world of academia, where I am, I just got off a spring break, and so I'm kind of getting back and easing my way back into everyday life, and that includes my channel. So I did take a 2-week break from recording and uploading new YouTube content, but I have something good for y'all today. And this is a space that I think not only have I lived in, but I live in currently. And so I often like to share things that I've learned. But I also think it's important to share things that I'm learning. I'm not on the other end of this, meaning I haven't perfected what I'm about to share with you today. But I think it can be beneficial for so many, especially for people who are truly, truly, truly focused on living in their purpose and whatever that looks like for you. I think there's some nuggets in here that you can pull out. So as you see, I have entitled this video. So let me back up a little bit and say, anybody who follows knows me. You've heard me say I love a good acronym. I have, many of us have strengths and gifts. One of mine is that I can come up with an acronym like that. One of my friends, she sent me something and she's like, I need an acronym for this, and I think I texted her back within 30 minutes, and she was like, oh my God, it's like how my brain has always been wired. And so give me a math problem, can't figure it out, but give me a word or something, I can come up with an acronym. So y'all know I love a good acronym. I also like to do like 3-part series. And I racked my brain trying to come up with a good acronym for this one, and I couldn't, and it was so frustrating. But when all else fails, come up with the alliteration. So that's what I did for this one. So I'm entitling this topic, I guess, if you want to call it that, feelings, frustration, and facts. Something easy to help you remember. But I will kind of give you a spoiler alert. The main part that we're going to talk about is within that frustration. Think of it as feelings, and facts are bookmarking what's in the middle, which is frustration. So one of the things that I have learned over the years, I was trying to think where I heard it. It was either in a sermon, maybe in a book I've read, probably both, to be quite honest, but I can't pinpoint exactly where. But I remember when I heard it, it was so impactful for me. And there's so much that I read and so much that I listen to that it's, when I have something that really sticks, it means a lot, and it's significant for my life because I hear so many different things. But what I had heard was, oftentimes we get stuck in our feelings, right? We've all heard that saying nowadays that somebody's in their feelings, basically meaning somebody feels, upset or irritated, or they're not happy with somebody and they're in their feelings about something, right? Or just really sentimental, or, anything like that, right? But you can be in your feelings or you have attitude. That all of that kind of encompasses being in your feelings, right? And so what I had heard was, and I will also give a disclaimer. This one's probably a little bit more spiritual and purposeful put together. Okay. But they were talking about how so often, we as human beings, right, we get stuck in our feelings, right? We feel something and we feel bad about something, or we feel frustrated or fearful or whatever the case is, right? And we forget so often, as a person of faith, we forget that God's word, the Bible, essentially is factual, and what God says is. And so oftentimes, like the Bible talks about, not being fearful and not being anxious, and knowing how much God loves us. And we sometimes so easily forget what his word says because we're caught in our feelings, right? And so what I had heard was, we have to get out of that space of how we feel about something and get into the space of knowing, all right? So I'm calling that knowing space facts. I know, as a person who is really, I probably wear my feelings on my sleeve, as it's so, a lot of people say, empathic. I feel what other people are feeling so often. It's so easy for me to be in my feelings, but I'm also aware of it. And so there's this balancing act for me with not only what I go through, but what I'm also sharing with you. I am a strong believer in feeling what you feel. Not one person is allowed to tell somebody they are not allowed to feel a certain way. That's the first thing. So let's get that one out of the way, so to speak. Okay. if you've ever gotten in an argument with a significant other or somebody you're dating or a friend or a coworker or whatever, and you're like, this made me feel this way, or I feel this way, and somebody tells you, well, that's dumb. You shouldn't feel that way, or you shouldn't feel that way. Nobody has a right to tell anybody how they should feel. All of our feelings are valid, okay? If you've never had somebody tell you that your feelings about something is valid, I'm telling you now, your feelings are valid. What we have to be mindful of is what comes next. What do those feelings cause us to do, right? And we got to be mindful and careful not to allow our feelings to allow us or put us in a position where we choose to do something bad or negative or something like that, right? But your feelings are your feelings. You are allowed to feel X, Y, and Z as much as you want to feel it. In the space of negative feelings, we don't want to stay there, right? We want to be able to do whatever we need to do to get out of that, okay? So I kind of set the tone essentially for where I'm about to go with this. So often when you are in a space of living in your purpose, attempting to live in your purpose, whatever that looks like for you, if you're in school, if you're working, even our relationships that we have, romantic friendships, there should be some kind of purpose to those relationships. I strongly believe that. So whatever realm you are in, as far as living a purposeful life, there are going to be times where you are in your feelings, right? There are going to be times where you don't feel good about something, where you are scared or you're fearful or you question if you're even on the right path. And remember when I said that I've gone through this, but I'm living it too? I'm living that wholeheartedly. I know very clearly that there is a plan and purpose that God has for my life. He's laid that out for me in so many ways and confirmed it with the right people. And so that's a done deal. I totally know that. I've said often, I don't know all the specifics to where I'm going, but I kind of have the view of the overall picture. There are times where I wake up and I'm frustrated or I'm fearful that I'm even on the right path. I don't doubt that I'm on the right path to as far as where I'm headed, if that makes sense. Like, I know my purpose is centered around teaching and speaking and mentoring and encouraging and that sort of thing. But there are days where I wake up, y'all, and I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm any further than I was a year ago or 3 years ago. Sometimes I feel like I'm no further than I was 6 years ago. And I feel scared, or I feel like doubtful, or I feel like, is this even worth it? Is this all the work that I'm doing? And, the YouTube channel I used to have a written blog, and I stopped doing that. But the book I've written and me teaching, is it worth it? Am I on the right track? Because right now I'm not feeling it. This is why. So when you start getting in that space, you're living in your feelings essentially, right? And this is why it's so important to have the right people close to you, the right core people, because those people will help you get out of that space, right? Will encourage you. It's not until, I'm going to share something with you guys. You all know I've written and published my first book, hope to do my second one. But it's not until somebody actually comes along and says, or first of all, they buy the book and then email me and tell me something how it helped them, or a friend of mine will tell me, or somebody will say, like, you actually wrote a book. It's not until I have those moments. Sometimes it's like I need to be reminded that I did that, and that it's good, and that is progress. That is something that I've accomplished. And yes, I'm not where I was, a year ago or 2 years ago or 6 years ago. And so it helps me to get out of my feelings, right? The goal is to get out of your feelings and get into the space of facts. The fact is that I'm not going to sit here and lay out all, my accomplishments or whatever, but, there's things that I've done. I'm using the book for an example. There's other things I've done as well, but, the fact is I have done that, and I have to sit in that sometimes. The moral of the story for you, so many students I talk to, so many people I talk to, myself, we end up in that space of the in-between, which is the frustration. There's your feelings, you get caught in your feelings. On the other side of that are the facts of, yes, you are on the right track. You are where you are supposed to be. You just have to keep pushing and going and surround yourself with the right people. But so often that middle part, that frustration part, that's the part where we can't fully get out of, right? And we want to keep going. It's like what I have envisioned in my head. Imagine feelings is like an island, and then the other island is facts. And in between that is like water and mud and gunk and all this stuff, right? So you got to get from your feelings over to facts. But oftentimes it's like trudging through mud, and you're like, you want to keep going. Matter of fact, you're like, let me just go back to my feelings because that's comfortable and that's easy to sit in, as opposed to pushing forward. And then as you keep moving, it gets a little bit easier. The mud becomes a little bit less, the water subsides, and it actually gets easier to get over to that facts. And the fact is, you are where you're supposed to be. You are on your way to your purpose. You are doing exactly what God has designed for you. And that is where we want to sit, right? So my encouragement to you today is to be aware of your feelings. It's okay to be in your feelings sometimes. We all have those days, right? But we don't want to get stuck in our feelings. After we get out of our feelings, a lot of times we're moving towards the facts. But before we even get there, we oftentimes get stuck in that frustrating moment. I'm there. I will be completely candid and honest. I'm sitting in that frustrated spot as we speak. But I also know and I'm aware of what the facts are, of what God has shown me and where I'm supposed to get. So I hope that you become aware of your feelings, don't get stuck in that frustrated moment, and keep moving all the way over to the fact. And the fact is that you have a purpose, you have goals, you have places that you're trying to get to and things that you're trying to accomplish, and you will get there as long as you don't stay in your feelings and stay in that space of frustration. Get on over to the side of facts. So hope that helps somebody. I hope you have a wonderful week or weekend, and I will see y'all on the next video.